Hey. Oh, yo, whoa. Me Immortalites, welcome back to an edition of Meanderings. I'm your host, Juan, over here from the Immortal. We've got Kyrin
here,
on the other side of things. We've got some raspy voices going down.
Sickness all around.
All around.
On our part.
Yeah, so, and that's going to start us
I
off
need
right
a
away.
holiday of some sort.
Right away, dude. I'm going to start with that point. So, we had a pre-recording of the last Meanderings and Musings, and so this is a back to regular occurrence, regular cadence type of podcasting, and we decided as a group of friends, we're going to go out. We'll go out to Airlie Beach, which is just 2.5 hours north of Brisbane, where we live.
By plane.
By plane, of course. And we went out there and had a great time. But we all came back, and we were abolished by the flu, cold, whatever was going around. Was it COVID? Probably not that bad.
Yeah, six of us went up. At least four of us came back sick.
Yeah, 4 of us came back sick. Look, we were partying, we were drinking, we were having a good time. We were barely sleeping, so it isn't unexpected. But what I wanted to add on top of that, I don't know if it was a smart move on my plate to then decide to go and get my second COVID vaccine shot.
I think it was, because I was tempted to. I tried to, actually.
You tried to?
Due to just general incompetence, I won't go into that, but I couldn't get mine, even though I was feeling semi-unwell. But my thinking was like, it's going to make me sick. I'd rather one batch of crappiness, like real crappiness, versus a prolonged 2-week batch of crappiness.
That's true, actually. No, actually, that's a fair statement. So for me, what I wanted to raise was, it has now been, and I mentioned this to you a little bit earlier offline, but I've trained now twice in the last fortnight, basically.
Yeah.
And I cannot tell you...
I was going to say, you're looking small. How
down and out... Oh, man. This is my plan. I'm going to get smaller, dude, so I can fit within the camera. But I could not tell you how absolutely wrecked I was just trying to work out today. And I already kind of mentioned this a little bit to you earlier, but my plan was... And I'm a big gym goer. I enjoy doing lots of training, and I barely train because I'm trying to recover. And look, I will suggest, if you're feeling sick and you get the COVID shot or whatever, you're not feeling well, okay, let your body heal. But I just couldn't believe how wrecked I was today in my workout, man. Just running a kilometer and then trying to do a little bit of extra things, which is basically just a few pull-ups, a few lat pull-downs, a little bit of biceps and calves. And I was like gasping for air doing this workout. I was like, where's my air? So it felt terrible. But it also made me just think, going like, oh, man, how important is health? And I wanted to ask you, because and I don't know if you want to mention it here, but you're going with a no month of drinking.
Yeah.
No month of drinking. So
it's like a spur of the moment decision.
Was it just spur of the moment?
Pretty much,
yeah. Health?
Yeah, I pretty much just went like, man, I drank a lot last month, not just including Airlie, but I was going out with you guys. I was going to the casino more with my dad to like chat with him, and then there's usually like
couple of drinks that you have there.
And I just went, I've probably had more this month than I have in the previous 6 months. Yeah. And so I just went, it's probably good for a small break.
Yeah, and for me, and I came back, after this weekend that's just gone by. So Airlie Beach for us was the previous weekend. And then this weekend, Friday came along, we had a work event, right? A couple of work drinks. I went, I'm gonna have a good time. I'm gonna interact with lots of people, which I did, 100%. But I also drank a lot of drinks, and I mixed a lot of drinks. So when For us, when we went out in Airlie Beach a couple of weeks ago, we one night was like a lot of beers, the other night was more spirits. And we kind of made a conscious decision. And while we were tired, it was good. We weren't all like very sick or anything. But dude, this Friday, I mixed everything on this. I was having Fireball and Coke. I was having Ink Gin. I was having normal gin. I was having beers. I was having vodka. I was having everything. And I just woke up the next day, obviously lack of sleep, but just got home and just felt so sorry for myself. There was like so much self-loathing. I was like, what have I done? I'm already feeling unwell. When I caught up with Pam and I was talking to them, but I felt like, why am I not feeling that well? Like, I didn't want to eat food at the moment. Why? Obvious is obvious, but it just, for me, will I go and do the month of no drinks? Maybe I'll consider it, but definitely, once again, just life has showed me how important having just a good, healthy, the ability to just go and do your normal, everyday stuff. I'm like, oh, man, I just got so late to waste. Can't wait to see how you feel, though, from the second COVID shot. Because, again, talking to a friend of mine about this, he was like, they say, there's some rare side effects. Dude, I swear to God, everyone fucking person I've talked to has some fucking side effect. Fuck this rare side effects. Everyone's got it. Don't tell me this bullshit.
Yeah.
So for me, it was first couple of days, felt unwell. Then Just woke up one morning and my lymph node on my left-hand side was just so swollen. I'm like, oh my God. So I went to go check it out. I actually shared it with Mum. I was like, oh, Mum, I've got like this lymph node on the left-hand side. And typical of my mum would definitely know this. She like tried to call me twice while I was in the gym in the morning and then called me again being like,
you're
what's
dying.
wrong? Go to emergency, go get checked out. I'm like, Mum, like I read up about it. Seems like it's a rare occurrence, but it happens and it'll go down after a while. Now, don't want to be immortalized. It has gone down. But again, I don't know where the statistics are coming from in terms of like how rare some of these side effects are, but dude, they're less rare than you can imagine. But I'm keen to see what your reaction, and hopefully doesn't put you out too long.
Yeah, well, I mentioned on the Discord, I'm very distrustful of just general statistics as in particularly in this case where it's obvious the government really wants you to get the shot.
And look, fair enough. I agree. There's an incentive for everyone to get vaccinated, whatever you may feel about that. But yeah, can you imagine just like the overwhelming nature of feeling of being like, oh, if we just skew these numbers, more people are going to go get it for sure. Yeah,
for sure. You mentioned health, and we will talk, I think, more deeply about that in the next episode.
In Meanderings,
Yeah, which is metrics that matter. Mm-hmm. I wanted to actually ask you about Airlie, my brother. So you mentioned people getting sick and whatnot. He was one of the unfortunate ones who got sick. So my brother came up, and you've actually spent a good chunk of time with my brother over the last couple of months. You met him at some of the meetup events, obviously the pretty much 3 full days that we had in Airlie together. So, and we're all just hanging out. I was going to ask you, any insights into me or my personality, or into him and like the way we interact?
As in like through him to you, or to you to him?
Just anything in general. And like you haven't spent much time with him before, so just wondering if you noticed anything.
Well, I noticed, and I'll say this as well, because I knew him at least slightly, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I was hanging around your place sometime at school, so I would know him as well then. He seems similarly minded as you in terms of some of the aspects of living. Like I see the similarities of being brothers around the
definitely the minimalism,
the minimalism, the idea of health, the some of the what other people would probably consider the extreme of doing things. You'd be like, you're on a holiday, why are you taking a creatine tub with you?
Yeah.
But that's the sort of extreme that I also sometimes see in you. Well, what other people would consider extremes, but it's just it's your dedication to doing something and following it through. Although one thing I didn't realize about your brother, obviously seeing him, being around him more now, is like there's a certain dedication or discipline that he has, which is different, I guess, how I would consider the discipline. But like an example was, and you've told a story around some of his gaming sort of money ways in terms of weight betting. And the way and he just followed it through like all the way. He hasn't just like done it, got some success from it, and then moved on. No, he's like done it, success, and then he's like trying to refine it, keep on improving, and keep on doing.
Yeah.
So I didn't really notice that from him before, so it was cool to see. It was good to see.
I think those parts are similar. Where might be some interesting differences. So for one for me, I think is really obvious is his comfort. It's almost like comfort being extroverted, I would say. So like when we're in the nightclub, for example, dancing, he was just having a lot more, I think he was more naturally suited to that sort of environment.
He was,
dancing, jug in hand. I might even chuck up the video, and you can see him in the background dancing. I think those sorts of environments, he's more, I think he's got like a more natural charming ability, more natural funniness to him than I do.
But I wouldn't never say that he's extroverted still, though.
No, I wouldn't say that
he's
either.
He's introverted, but he's more outgoing than you would be, I guess, in those sort of scenarios and settings.
That's
but still,
what I feel.
We had this conversation with him and like in the whole group. We were like, are you going to approach girls? Are you going to talk to girls? And he still wasn't like the person that, he would go and do that, like an approach in the middle of the street or go talk to people out there. He wasn't like that, but yeah, definitely more outgoing or more comfortable with it. Do you think that it was because he was having drinks? Or do you think that would be his natural self too?
No, I think like if we got into like if drinks were just cut off from that point on and everyone sobered up in the club, I think he would still be doing that.
Yeah, okay.
The thing is, so he was very naturally extroverted as a kid, which is what I find really fascinating, is that he's sort of I guess, become more introverted as he's gotten older. But, man, as a kid,
Does he still game a lot?
Not so much. Bits and pieces.
Not as much as he probably would have in the past. Yeah, I'm just wondering whether that would have translated from doing a lot of gaming, staying inside, not seeing as many people, and then in turn being like, oh, okay, being less...
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I think you
less comfortable around people. You think that you force yourself to like become less... not become more introverted, but become less sociable.
Yeah, it becomes more of a habit, a lifestyle. Yeah, okay.
I wanted to ask you a question, because this will translate into a topic I want to bring up, which is around Adobe and Premiere Pro and all that. So your computer... decided on a whim to just update to the latest Premiere Pro.
It's just down here, people.
Yeah. Latest Premiere Pro. What was your experience with that?
It was just annoying was my experience. So, yeah, everything updates. It's like, okay, I'm okay with that. My experiences just with updates in general has been pretty negative. Every time I've updated my phone.
Yeah, you've never had a really good experience with it.
I've never had an update and been like, wow, this has improved it.
Yep.
I'm way better off for this happening. Phone updates, laptop updates, it's always been neutral or negative.
Yep.
So for me, what just occurred was I could still click on the application, but then it's like, oh, you need to convert this file to Premiere Pro 2022. Right. So it's like, okay, I'll do that. Then it just lagged out like crazy.
Dude, you think like when they're thinking about this updates and new things that are coming on board, that you'd be communicated or you'd be informed even better, especially with like files. Like imagine just getting a random update. You haven't even, it's like auto syncing for an update. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, by the way, all of your files are now no longer like suitable. You gotta go and update all of them. And then like for us, sure, it's impactful, but we're not running like a large business.
Yeah.
We're not running this for clients or anything like that. Imagine if you were doing that and it impacted like all your clients and work, you would be pissed.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, but the reason I bring this up is, so in this month, and refer back to our thumbnail today, but in this month, for me, I wanted to learn more about Photoshop and Premiere Pro. Used to really, really love Premiere Pro, do a lot of things in it, moved away from it for a long time, but obviously we're using it now for a lot of our things for the podcast. So, in my little research that I've begun, I went, okay, well, what's the greatest and best stuff that's out right now in Photoshop? And lots of cool stuff, awesome, like you can replace a sky with other things in like a really easy way. They've got like quick guides now, like quick links basically, where things that you would want to normally do, like say cut out a person or change the color of something, etc.
I still struggle with the colors.
Yeah, well, apparently there's now like a much easier way.
Okay.
It appeared to. Photoshop's always like this, dude. They're like, you see a video and it's like 15 seconds.
Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, easy.
I'll remember that. I don't need to bookmark this.
You go in there and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot that's like setting 17, change mask, 80%, dual it up. It's Shift-T, Shift...
And it's like you have the layer mask selected instead of the actual photo or vice versa. And so areas which should be clickable are grayed out. And you're like, what's going on?
Exactly. But this particular new feature, it's a beta feature, so I don't know if it's going to stick around or not. But are you familiar with deepfakes?
Yes.
Of course. Yep. So for the people who don't know deepfakes, it's the ability to maybe it's either a video or a photo. And
even audio, I guess.
Even audio, and you're basically able to change the perspective of the view so it looks like somebody else, or to change your appearance, etc. But it looks like pretty real. That's why it's called a deep fake.
Yeah.
So they've got a particular feature where your face, you could be just like sitting there, completely normal, or looking to the side. You basically highlight the area, and then they give you all of these options. Do you want to make them smile? Do you want to make them frown? Do you want to make the eyes like look closer up? Do you want to rotate their head 90 degrees this way? And dude, I was seeing the video of this thing. Is it perfect? No, it's not like as perfect as you'd see a deepfake. And this is on an image. But I was amazed that it had this particular functionality. So what I've attempted to do in the thumbnail is spin your head slightly to the right and make you smile like a really evil smile. So we'll see how, obviously, you let me know, me and Mortal Lights, how that turned out. But if you look at the clips of other people doing it, for it to be that easy, I went, man, this is because it was cool, and also it made me think, wow, now that's like really easily available for anyone to go down the path of creating something that's actually not. I went, okay, very interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what Photoshop is really. You're creating something that's not, and even cameras themselves now have all these inbuilt filters and stuff. So you're distorting the light.
That's true.
Et cetera, et cetera.
That's true.
I'm always so skeptical of, not skeptical, just just wondering how people use the word natural. So they're like, oh, look at this natural photo, or look at this photo that wasn't taken, hasn't had any manipulation to it. And it's just one of those crazy ass, I'll put one up on the screen, but it's this crazy ass photo of some like weird desert looking thing. And it's because they've taken like a time lag shot and used these certain filters built within the camera to do it. And I'm like, well,
is it real?
If I was there standing there, is this what it would look like? No, of course not. So can you really say it's been unaltered, or,
what is reality anymore?
Yeah,
what is reality anymore at that point? I wanted to bring something else up as well, just because it's kind of recent, and of course we're going to talk about NFTs at some point in every single episode that we do from now on. But you heard about the fact of Facebook changing their, I think it's their parent name to Meta?
Yeah.
So I don't know how much you've looked into what they're planning on doing,
Zero.
why they're doing it. Okay, cool. So I know a little bit more than zero, but I'm going to say in a scale of 0 to 1, it's like we're still talking like lots of decimal points here.
Yeah.
But I was talking to my dad about this just recently, and the whole perspective of the move towards Meta is because they do believe that there is a future in open source. I guess they didn't say it directly, but more open sourced, and the ability that, kind of like NFTs, we're going to be a much more digitally connected society. Let's just put it that way. So you're going to be able to use, whether it's avatars or it's going to be something else, you're going to be a digital connected human. And we got into this conversation between the fam of like, well, what if like 20 years from now, you've got your avatar, you're purchasing clothes for your avatar, virtual reality is so good that you're using your avatar to travel to another place, basically. And with virtual reality, it's like, okay, well, yeah, you're in Paris and this is what it's going to be used. And Mum was still of the view of, but like, it's not the same as experiencing it, as being there. And it connected me to what you were saying about reality. I think our reality will change so quickly enough that will seem just like that is reality. So, seeing this image was time lapse and it looks completely different, or you being in virtual reality and buying yourself an NFT shirt or an NFT pants and wearing around, that will seem like, that's as much reality as me walking outside and doing whatever I want. Almost to the point that maybe you'd prefer that reality. You'll be like, that's my better reality. I just want to be like, let my bag of bones, like, body just experience this and just put me aside.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it sounds extreme, but then what's that really, really popular game in, I'm going to say Korea or Japan, where it's sort of like a sim world type thing, but you can buy property in it. There's Asian dudes who have just lost themselves into it.
Sure,
and that's their reality now. They are that character in that game. I'll try and find it.
I think there's like probably a couple that we could describe that are like that. But yeah, as we move towards that path, and I think in the meta sort of conversation, obviously the big thing was like, games are going to lead that path, which is likely. Obviously the transition's already there. It's just moving into a more broader nature of that. It just makes me also think, how long have we got left of humanity where, the real world is everything you see in front of here? Like, how long is it really going to be? Like, are we going to look back in a century's time and someone's going to go, like, oh, man, like, that world seemed boring. Like, now we're just like, we talk maybe, let's test this out. We talk like fourth dimensional. Maybe the fourth dimension is like a digital realm where it's like, you got the 3 dimensions where you like experience it here in like the reality. And the fourth dimension is this digital front where it's like, you just got other things to go and do and play around and explore.
Yeah, it's a fun question. I have the feeling it'll be similar to now. We have all these amazing things. I could lose myself in this phone. Like there's, whether it's the porn, the videos, the social interactions, the unlimited knowledge, all of that is amazing. But here we are still outdoors doing our thing. I have a feeling that it'll get more addictive. It'll get more insane. But there'll still be a draw to come out and walk around and climb a tree and all that sort of fun stuff.
We might have said this before in other podcasts, but it's still totally my belief that it'll be the point when the younger generation grow up in a space where they prefer the normality of being digitally connected to that point, and whether it's virtual reality or some other way of losing yourself, over being outside. Like, maybe not now, but maybe in 10 years, a 5-year-old is grow up in a space where it is common for you to put a virtual reality headset on to go study, to go play games, to, buy a shirt on, like, through an NFT or whatever it may be, as opposed to being there in person and being like, they might be like, well, I get a better seat, I get a better view, I don't have to, like, travel and all these sort of things, and I still get the same experience, they might prefer that over. And I think maybe that point will go, okay, that might just be like where we start accelerating into that space.
Yeah, maybe.
It makes me a little bit sad, actually. It makes me a little bit sad because I go,
nah,
man,
come on,
it's fun. It's good to be outdoors.
You'll be diving into it hardcore.
Probably.
I feel remiss if we don't do a podcasting 2.0 sort of little statistic thing here. Yep. So I got a question for you. How many podcasts do you think are podcast episodes are released per minute?
On podcasting 2.0 enabled?
No, just in general, and then I'll get down into some other stats.
So how many podcasts episodes are getting released per minute is your question.
And when are these released?
Okay. That's going to be a harder one to answer. Okay, so I'm going to say...
maybe like graph-wise. So you're looking at a graph of, Monday to Sunday.
Oh, understood. Gotcha.
When are the peaks and how much are those, and how many is the episodes per minute?
Well, I'm going to say that it's a very, the cadence is going to be very, very, there's going to be you're going to see a peak through the week and then go down through the week and up to the peak. I'm going to say the peak will be Monday, Tuesday, and the down period would be Thursdays. Okay. That would be my sort of suggestion. But how many podcasts episodes are getting produced per minute? Well, let's just say there's 4 million-ish podcasts available right now. Let's say the cadence is once a week. I'm going to say that there is 1.2 million episodes. No. 100,000 per minute. 100,000 per minute. 100,000 per minute.
No, not that much, man. There's a 70-ish.
70-ish episodes per minute.
Yep.
Okay.
So here's a little...
No, I was completely wrong.
Here's a little graph.
Oh, okay.
You can look at... It'll be on the screen right now. So it definitely does... You're correct. It peaks sort of midweek. During the week, I guess you'd say. So those days in between are sort of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then that gap there is the Saturday, Sunday releases.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
Good on you, mere mortals, trying to fill up those Sunday releases. We're right up there.
Yep.
So it's about 70-ish, and it hovers around that 40 to 70, I'd say. And then all those red ones down the bottom are ones with the dude said it was an interesting tag in it. So it's a podcasting 2.0 who in the RSS feed they have something like the chapters or maybe the transcript tag. Gotcha. Or maybe one of the other tags that are in there at the moment. So that is just cool to see, I guess.
Cool to see.
70 per minute, so you'd have to be really going hard to listen to all those. Thankfully, most of them are trash, so
yeah, exactly.
You don't have to worry about that. The other thing is... what was I going to say? They've just started working on the cross-comment app chapters. Sorry, not chapters. The cross comments so that you can be in Podfriend, I can be in CurioCaster.
Yep.
You write a comment and I see the comment down below. There's been talked about for a while. They're starting to work on it. So more coming in that space.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So that was just a little stat I wanted to produce.
Call out. Yeah, I like that.
And I also wanted to just bring up what was your funniest Airlie moment? What was your most enjoyable part of the trip?
I mean, in real time... Not referring back to us, I'm just thinking, what's the funniest moment? Because sometimes you can look back. Sometimes you can look back at something
and you can make things funny.
Wow, that was really funny. But again, I keep coming back to we were driving back from Airlie Beach back to Mackay, and we were all sitting in the car driving back, and one of our mates, Fippin, just calls out at the back because it was during Halloween. And then he proudly says, "We had quiet for about 2 minutes because we were trying to talk for a long time, and everything went quiet because we've been just talking about Halloween costumes and what people were wearing and whatnot." And then he proudly boasts out that he approached the two police officers and asked them, what are you dressed up as? And even reflecting back on it, I'm like, dude, man, what an absolute lunatic. But just in the moment, it was so good. It was such a good laugh.
So in Airlie's a small place, people. There's, I think, a population of maybe 1,000, couple of thousand, if that. And... it's a backpacker tourist party destination sort of place.
Yep.
A lot quieter now that COVID's happening and whatnot, but there was still a lot going on. And there was these two police officers there, and also people like to partake in their substances there. So,
yeah, I could imagine.
When we first drove up, the very first thing, we dropped you guys off so you could get some kebabs or I don't know. And me and my brother parked the car, we're unloading our crap from the boot, and this was midnight. Just after midnight.
This was 12:30.
two random girls come wandering out of the dark, and they're, early 20s. And the first thing we get asked in Airlie is like, hey, do you guys have acid? And we're like, nah, we just arrived here. And then, obviously not hearing that we just arrived here, they're like, oh, do you know somebody who has acid? We're just like, no, we just arrived here. Come on, people. And
so remind me of the stories of like you in Colombia and Mexico and stuff.
Oh, yeah, just random approaches for cocaine or whatnot. That was more gringo related, because I was a traveller. This was just,
what was your funny moment,
you're
though?
Friendly.
In the moment.
And I just wanted to finish explaining. So those two police officers, I personally had seen them arresting at least 3 people on what I'm assuming are drug-related charges or crimes or something like that, because these two dudes would just pop up over like the next 3 days. They popped up in multiple locations, getting people in trouble and whatnot. So, yeah, absolute lunatic fipping. That was hilarious. That one was sort of post-moment, I guess. That was reflecting back. In the moment, I think some occurrence during the game we invented of the, would you rather red or blue? Thumbs up for red, thumbs down for blue. Yeah. And, you go 3, 2, 1, go. If you're in the majority, that's all good. If you're not in the majority, you have a drink. Man, that turns sexual quickly. Oh, my God. Would you rather, have sex with your mum or your dad have sex with you? 3, 2, 1, go. And while those were funny,
I will go back to another of the really funny moments of Airlie was we planned it out with a mate of ours to be like, we are going to say a number between like basically 100, and if you lose, you have to buy a round of shots for everyone.
Yeah,
and we agreed.
If you get the same number as someone else, then you're safe.
And we agreed, like 72 us two and another guy, 72. That's what we're going to do. And us 3 and the other 3 guys who were there were like, okay, let's do this now. 2 others went in cahoots, and then so they ended up getting the number right. But what was funny, because we didn't know at the time, is we said the number, so obviously we said 72. They said 2 and got the same one right, and then our mate, who we literally told we were going to do this, got the wrong number. So that in the moment was also a fantastic
the other fun one for me was, personally for me, was the Easy Money episode coming true in real life, which was, I'm in the club, I've got my barriers on, they've appeared in multiple episodes here.
You won't see them anymore. Why won't you see them anymore?
Yeah, so I'm in there, and we'd been in there for maybe half an hour, so I was still soberish, I guess. And this random girl and guy come up, and the guy's like, hey, look, my girlfriend wanted to ask you something, or like, I'm just going to do it for her. And of course you're thinking, oh, Kyrin, he's about to get a threesome. This is awesome. Although there's a dude involved, it's not 2 chicks.
Yep. Can't we just prefer the guy?
This is less. This is less. Girl, gross. Get out of here. And then he says, "Look, my girlfriend really likes your barriers. How much
are you willing to part with them?"
Yeah. And I thought about it, and the immediate thing was like, this is going to be a funny story. I'm definitely going to sell it.
You gotta do, yep.
So I said the first thing that came to my head, $40. And then this is where I think I showed off my lack of negotiation skills, because he then says 20, and I'm like, nah, 40. He says 20, and then I'm like, okay, we'll do 30. Up. And then he says, no, 20. And I go, all right, here's 20. So there was definitely room for me to improve my negotiation. There's room for improvement in negotiation,
but
that was terrible.
It's a hard environment. It's a hard environment to be negotiating.
You gotta be a hard seller. He seemed like he was set on 20 as well.
I think I would have. The only thing I could think of that could have maybe changed the tactics would have been to say, well, look, I got offered 25 by that group there, so you got to do better. I'm just going to sell it over there. Yeah. And fine,
really sell it up. Yeah. So yes, I parted for 20. I found out. I thought, oh, maybe this is like potentially 800% gains, because I didn't actually buy the bear ears and bow tie. So I thought, oh, probably it was like $2.50 to buy that if I had to ask my dad. I found out it was actually $9. So
only doubled your money.
Only 122% gains. Puh. Still okay though. Yeah. And I still have the bottom. The tail.
They didn't take the bottom.
I didn't have it on me actually.
Could have been $40. Could have doubled it up.
Yeah. I should have been like, but have you seen this? And then turn around and show my ass.
Very good.
That was one of my fun moments from Airlie.
Nice.
But yes, I would say recommendation for people, organize some stuff. Go out with some friends if you can. Obviously, COVID makes things hard, but
if you can, it's always fun. It's to have those fun stories and you look back on and go, yeah, that was absolutely worth it.
Yeah. There's just some of those things I'm 100% sure we'll be talking about in 10 years' time. Yep. Do you remember when Vipin did this? Do you remember when Manchill got super drunk and aggressive?
We still talk about...
Do you know who I am?
We still remember and talk about things that happened 12, 14 years ago in similar mindsets. So, it'll go down in the history books, in the annals of history.
The annals.
Annals of history.
I
would say that. Annals or annals?
I think it's annals, but annals is kind of funny.
Annals better.
All right. Well, boostagram time?
Let's do it.
We've got some from our favourite Slav, Petar. So he says, Kyrin, the Diogenes of Sinope of Brisbane. So I must have been saying something about being poor and, just a general life. You could probably just look at me and be like, oh, yeah, he looks like a dude who lives under a bridge and lives in his own poverty. So he says, Camus argues that while life itself is inherently meaningless, even Sisyphus the cursed is actually smiling if you look closely. This I've actually heard before. Do you know Sisyphus? He's the guy who has to continually roll the rock, the big boulder up the hill, reaches the top, it falls down, and then he goes. And many people have said, that's unbearable torture. But then others have said, he's the happiest man alive because he never achieves his goal. So he's always
got something to achieve.
Yeah. So he says, Peterson, so I'm assuming he's talking about Jordan Peterson, argues that the voluntary acceptance of responsibility is what gives a man's life meaning, and most importantly, Taylor Swift advises that hate is going to hate. So true. Taylor Swift and Peterson together, that's exactly what I want.
I genuinely, she's the probably the best philosopher we've known in our time, Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Just trying to think of what's the funniest lyrics of hers that I know.
I don't know many.
I know a bunch of her songs. They're very catchy, man.
If they play, I would know them, but I wouldn't know them off the heart. Yeah.
Something about 22. That's what I'll say. He finishes, whatever you believe, to me, it sounds like you have things under control in number 240 musings. Well, thank you, good sir.
Thank you very much, Petar.
It feels like we have things in control sometimes go out of control, but as much as we can, we try and...
Controlled chaos.
Yeah, and I think the next episode in Metrics That Matter, I think that'll sort of explain why we can control some things.
Yeah, for sure.
The things we can't control, at least observe them and be like, this could be something that's coming up.
Yep.
So that was 500 sent using Podfriend. Awesome. You want to read out these two? I've got a bit of a frog in the throat.
Good. The other one was by the Slav. I highly recommend a TED Talk from 2009 by Dan Pink on human motivation. To get someone highly motivated, give them 3 things: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. That's 500 sats from the Slav. Yeah, I'd agree.
Yep.
Yeah, autonomy, mastery, and purpose.
I'll give that a look. Go the other way. Just one more.
Oh, what? Up? Good.
Yeah, that was it.
Oh, sorry. And Petar, straight from the bear's mouth is the only way to eat salmon. 500 sats using Podfriend.
Do you remember that? We were talking about bears and the salmon, and you're like, I'll just catch it from straight from the bow. Steer it. Yeah, you were talking about what food you were going to cook, and you were going to say a nice salmon. Have you done that yet?
No.
You're doing that?
Got this whole month, man. I was going to try and do it this week, but this week is so flat out.
You don't want to be eating good stuff while you're sick as well.
No. I'm going to save it till my taste buds return, and I'm not feeling like shit, and I'll spend some good time cooking.
Excellent.
Good.
So that's it. Thank you, Peter, for the... Oh, shit.
Man, this dude over here... I'm dying over here. He's dying over here. I reckon a leaf flew into his absolute mouth. So we're going to end it there, folks. We're going to end Meanderings there today. Thank you very much for joining us. If you are in a Podcasting 2.0 enabled podcast player right now, make sure you send through a little bit of a message. You know how to do it. We've talked about it. Go back if you want to know how to do so. But there's plenty of ways you can do it. It's becoming more and more accessible, and it will as the future goes on. But if you're on any of the other platforms, whether it's YouTube, whether you're watching the video, Spotify, etc., leave a little subscribe, follow along in whichever way you want to.
Yep.
But I hope you're enjoying a great time anywhere you are in the world, me Immortalites. For now, we'll say adieu, au revoir. Have a good time.
Bon voyage.
Immortalites, out.
Adios. Kyrin, out.